Well, good evening, America, and welcome to It's Happening Out, the world's most popular live gay television show. And it's 8 p.m. Wednesday, May 27th, 2020. I'm your host and moderator, Al Ferguson, and we have a really great show for you tonight. There's absolutely nothing going on in America at all. So we're going to talk a lot about it. I want to, of course, to start our show, introduce our other host. Let me start in our social distancing to the max at home, Power Infiniti. Good evening, Power. How's your week been?
Al. My week has been quite fine and moist and dandy.
Very moist here in Florida. Nothing's going on at the White House or in Washington, so you're really going to basically have nothing to say tonight on the show, I understand.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're going to talk about a lot of DJing stuff or celebrities in entertainment or something that's right up your alley. And Aaron Phoenix is with us tonight. Aaron, how's your week been?
My week's been all right. I don't know if it's been as moist as Powers, but, you know, and okay.
Don't talk about your husband that way. Just don't do that. My friend NapoleonPlays. Good evening, Napoleon.
Hi, everybody.
You're doing Q News. We just got off the air. It was a great show. How's your week been?
Fantastic show. Well, it's been a fantastic week because we have a lot more coming up with Happening Out Television Network, and I'm just getting involved with some of those things. But more importantly than that, I have been getting back to the gym, which is a place to be calm and just get out some of this aggressive energy that normally gets thrown at Al the last few weeks. So I'm excited to have other places to throw it.
Truth.
So it's been good to get to the gym, and I'm sure other good things too. I was talking to the IRS earlier today too, so that was not fun.
Yeah, well, pay your bills, Napoleon. And also our guest host tonight, also helping us at Q News, while Aaron is on sabbatical because of COVID, Misty Eyez. Good evening, Misty. Really? Really? How's your week been?
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous? Gorgeous. Yes. I just threw her off in the big finish. I chose up to use Chris Coffer from Glee. I pleaded for
he would replace me in a
And
second.
Misty flipped me off in Q News tonight.
Live on TV.
Live on TV.
We all do it every day at home, but live is different.
And last but last is
Josie.
Our mayoral. Am I pronouncing that right? By
Mayoral.
Mayoral candidate. Get it right. Chef Josie, how's your week been?
Oh my God, my week is full speed ahead already. We're getting the ball rolling with the campaign. Lots of really great response, and that keeps me busy, and the business is reopening, and that keeps me busy. And then I just got word today at 6:30 in the morning. I am negative, so I have antibodies.
Yay!
And I am negative for
Hello.
COVID-19.
Hello.
I am so excited. I am really
Join the club.
truly free.
Al's
Truly
bragging,
free.
trying to take
Josie
your
and
thing.
Al
Don't let
club.
Don't let him do that, Josie. It's about you today.
That's right. Exactly.
Hey, you asked me about my week, not yours, Al,
Yeah,
okay?
all right. So there's the six of us. We're all here. We are all revving to go. We are going to get ready to prove to you how big of a week we have watched in so many different ways. Let's move right into our happening now. These are our breaking news, things that are happening. First, we report that gay icon Larry Kramer has passed away. It just happened today. The ACT UP president who founded ACT UP and the Los Angeles Men's Health Crisis organization. Everybody's heard the news about Larry Kramer. Yeah. What do y'all think? Thoughts about his passing?
There are a lot of friends that I have that were part of ACT UP, and I know from 40 years ago that are devastated that one of the leaders of that time, from just his actions alone, have passed away today. And in fact, I know that we reported on Q News tonight that Kramer was in the middle of writing his third book about the 3 plagues that have hit us, including corona and AIDS, and also his leg having broken. But with him having died of pneumonia, maybe it was this second big wave that hit us in the LGBTQ community with corona. I've got lots of thoughts.
Anyone Anyone else? Anything?
I mean, for those young activists like myself, and remembering standing in the streets and protesting in the streets of New York City, Mr. Kramer is someone who has paved the way for us to stand in our power and stand for our community and continue to be a trailblazer for us to keep moving forward. He can, I hope he rests in peace, and he rests knowing that he has inspired and empowered an entire community.
I'm a firm believer in the fact that if you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. And he was a firm believer in that just by his actions. He would act up itself, make a difference, speak up, do something. Don't just sit there and complain. Get up and do something.
Aaron, I'm curious, in terms
not
of the
only that-
social warrior kind of thing that you are, ACT UP was considered very radical when he started it. What do you think about ACT UP?
I mean, still today, a lot of the actions that ACT UP participated in would still today be considered very controversial and probably very radical for a lot of people. A lot of the actions that several of the actions I've done have been considered by my own queer peers to be too radical. But, what's radical, things only look radical until you're looking back on them in the future. When we've made the progresses that we've made because of those radical actions, people don't start talking about an issue oftentimes until something radical is done. And ACT UP, really their philosophy was to make some noise, to disrupt the status quo and force change no matter what. And that's, it's kind of a principle I live my life by. So it's a great
Power,
loss, but we celebrate everything that he contributed.
Power, I want to ask you, I'm really curious in terms of your opinion on this. There's already been kind of a flash Gallup-like poll of one of the national LGBT websites today of polling, doing a real quick first day poll after his death of millennials under 30 that had ever heard of him or knew anything about it. Does it shock you that the reporting of that poll today, day one of his death, that only 20% of millennials in the LGBT community had ever heard his name? They did not know anything about him. Does that surprise you?
No, it does not surprise me. We're talking about I once spoke to a friend of mine that was a millennial that didn't even know who George Michael was.
No.
Wow.
So when you think about it in terms of, we have a different generation, and it's up to us, some of us that are older, some of us that are more knowledgeable, to really help educate our younger youth about some of these makers, some of these trailblazers, because a lot of the youth today, they will never know the impact that this man had on their lives, even though they didn't know him.
Yeah, all of you have given
and Napoleon
great.
brought up a great point last week when you said props to whichever state it was for enforcing LGBTQ history being taught in our public schools.
Montgomery
Our
County.
generation is the quote-unquote no child left behind generation that seemingly seems to have been left behind in lessons of civics and history and things that really are impactful to us.
Yeah.
So in order to change this this trend of kids not knowing their history, we have to keep pushing for legislation that requires that they be taught it.
Here's the thing that I really love about It's Happening Out. Tomorrow, in the individual promotion of Conversation About Larry Kramer, this will be the only live television discussion of Larry Kramer probably in the entire world. I'm not kidding. What great observations we just heard, and for millennials, probably 9 out of 10 things that were said here, they have no idea what we're talking about. So that is a good starting point in terms of researching and learning more about Larry Kramer, and that is in our Happening Now news. We have second Happening Now news that we want to move on to talk about something that's happening in our LGBT community. We report tonight that San Francisco's oldest gay bar is closing. And why are they closing? Because of COVID-19. We've prepared this. Watch this video.
San Francisco's oldest gay bar is closing its doors. The Stud, south of Market area, the latest Bay Area institution to meet this fate as a result of the pandemic. KPIX 5's Wilson Walker live in San Francisco with what the loss means to the community. Wilson?
Yeah, Ken, we've been hearing from bar owners who still have no clear path to reopening, mind you. We've been hearing from them about high fixed costs. They have no income. They have small profit margins to begin with. This is a dire situation. And yes, it has cost San Francisco a little piece of history right here.
Yeah, this is the time for all of us to mourn that weird, smelly, strange building that so many of us found a home in.
The bar where a community found each other. The Stud opened in 1966. The past 33 years of that run here at 9th and Folsom, it was the city's longest standing LGBT nightlife venue.
It's a deep loss for us. We've been in this building since 1987. It survived the AIDS epidemic, and now it's the COVID pandemic that's forcing us to close.
Well, this puts COVID-19 straight in our face. I remind you, the Stud in San Francisco has lived through the AIDS pandemic. It has lived through the Stonewall demonstrations. The Stud was open years before the Stonewall Inn in New York. And it makes us wonder, in our sadness of the loss of this bar, of basically the mecca of the gay world, San Francisco, what else are we losing in COVID-19? And we just don't realize yet the loss of our community and our culture through businesses like the Stud. What do y'all think about the news here?
When I was living in San Francisco, I frequented the Stud very often. And I'll tell you this, it's sad to see the Stud close down after 55 years of being the safe space for so many different LGBTQ plus people to roll through on any given day. That being said, maybe there's a possibility for it to become a landmark, a historic space for San Francisco LGBTQ life. And there's so many different ways for us to kind of evolve out of this moment. And it just takes me back to our own streets right now in Wilton Manors, and our entire community has been shuttered. Bubbles and Pearls, my restaurant, we're going through this race. We're in this race to a very tough decision with monies, waiting for monies to come in and important funds to get us through this hump. There's a lot of businesses waiting on funds, and we're all in the entire community doing our best to hold on to keeping our businesses alive. And this is just another casualty to COVID-19.
If I can, let me pose it in a different way. A lot of people in the LGBT community might say, a lot of people in the straight community might say, we have moved on from the time period of the longevity of the Stud, that we don't need a bar like that anymore, and you can go into any bar. And so as a result, there's really not a big consequence of the loss of something like this. What do y'all think about that?
I think that's kind of crazy. Go for it, Power.
Even before COVID-19, the bar scene, the club scene was already struggling. It was already having its challenges. Many gay bars were closing down. Because of exactly what Al was saying, that we moved on to a different era as far as fluidity and acceptance. So COVID-19 certainly basically added to the struggle that the club scene, the gay club scene, was going through. Will it have an impact on our community? Yes, it will. But one thing about our community, as we all know, is we are a resilient, strong, proud.
Did you know your head and your neck is moving like this?
Ducking and weaving like a bobblehead.
We shall overcome. And
Right.
that's one thing about our community that you can depend on. We are very creative people, and we have a lot of pride. This is just going to be a hump in and of itself, but trust me, we will be back on dance floor as sooner than you can say.
From
"What a
your
bitch."
mouth to God's ears, I hope that is the truth. I think it is.
You'll be breaking your arm on a dance floor soon, Al.
Again, that's that
Okay,
again.
all right.
No, I think what's most interesting to me about this is that, like Power was saying, we have lost our culture over time, and then a lot of ways that's been because of social media, because of apps, because I mean, I'm part of the generation that I've had Grindr for 10 years. If I want to go hook up with someone, I can on my phone much more easily and quickly than I can if I go out and scout someone. Now, I always prefer to meet the person live, and that is just a different experience. I have less walls, and it's like we're really talking as people. But COVID has affected all of this. It's affected bars in real life, and it's affected how people interact off of just apps on their phones, because a lot of people in the gay community don't want to be interacting at all, at least the safe ones. And the ones that are, I'm not sure I want to interact with because I don't think they've been safe.
One of the things before we close this breaking news of happening now, and we move on to other things, I want to point out to you that likely we're going to be surprised. There are already first indications, because we're not out of COVID yet in terms of reopening, and that's when we're going to find out. First indications of surveys, because the LGBT owned and operated businesses are mostly mom and pops. They're individual small businesses in our communities. There are estimates suggesting that 40% of our LGBTQ businesses will not reopen, or they will not survive after reopening. So we likely have a very significant wave coming. We talk about the second wave. The second wave may hit the LGBTQ community directly, but we do say goodbye and farewell to the stud. It is part of our community and LGBT history. So good evening again, America. You are watching the world's most popular live gay TV show. You've already seen why in these two topics alone. So many of your stories and things that are important to you are coming next on It's Happening Out.
This week on It's Happening Out.
I know that if I come out, my family and many of the people I've grown up with will disown me. I know people like this.
Hey, and welcome back to your boy's channel. I have a special guest today, and he is. My name's Corey. I'm our.
San Francisco's oldest gay bar is closing its doors. The Stud, south of Market area. The latest bait.
Our new game, Saved by the Bell.
These two guys have come into these areas.
It's all happening out tonight. Join us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Special guest host, Misty Eyez. With your host, lifestyle expert NapoleonPlays. Reality TV star, Chef Josie. Trans activist, Aaron Phoenix. DJ Diva Power Infiniti. And our moderator, Ferguson. It all starts right now, live on It's Happening Out.
Well, good evening again, America. The old gang is all together. We're all back together again. We're going to have a lot of fun this evening, and you're going to enjoy what we're getting ready to do. I remind you, we're live. So whatever inane things come out of Aaron Phoenix and Power Infinity's mouth, I can't push them back in because we're live. Anything can happen. This is the world's most popular live gay TV show.
We want to remind everybody to please like, share, and subscribe on all of our platforms, on YouTube and on Facebook. And as far as Facebook goes, it's really easy to start a watch party. Watch this to figure out how.
When viewing our live show in your app, please click share. After clicking share, your screen should change and you can then click watch party. On the next screen, you can write text to your viewing audience and then click start watch party. You've done it. Enjoy your party.
Well, we hope you believe in gay community too, and you share us by starting a watch party. We want to thank one of our primary sponsors, the Best Western here in Wilton Manors, Fort Lauderdale, at I-95, Our guests stay there. Our hosts that come from out of town stay, and they're just getting ready to gear up like every place else in South Florida. And so when you decide to come, we hope you'll give a look at the Best Western I-95. We are broadcasting tonight from our permanent set in the middle of the World AIDS Museum and Education Center on the heart of Wilton Drive. The museum is currently closed, but getting ready shortly to open. Very exciting. It's located right on Wilton Drive here in Wilton Manors, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. As you can see with all of the people around this picture shot of me, the gayest place on planet Earth. Our set that we're sitting in here is courtesy of Concepto Modern Living here in Fort Lauderdale, and we thank them. Let's jump right into one of the big topics that we want to discuss, which is race in America. This week, two major stories that resonated to all of us at It's Happening Out as reminding us of a lot of what we saw at the Stonewall riots in 1969. And that is in Central Park. Karen, Amy Cooper, Christian Cooper, in terms of what happened in Central Park in New York in race and relationships. And of course, George Floyd, who has passed from the police incident and the brutality incident in Minneapolis. We're not even going to show you a video package because we know all of you know exactly what we are talking about. I can't breathe. I need to say nothing else other than that. The image comes to you instantaneously. What is going on in America as it relates to race?
I grew up in Baltimore, which is a prominently black location. I was the minority being white. It doesn't give me any kind of credence to know what a lot of people there went through, but I did see a lot of discrimination, even especially when I would go back to the city or when I was very young and in the city, towards people of color. And it's frustrating because that's clearly not gotten any better 25 years later in terms of how the establishment and how police officers treat people of color or black people. What could somebody be thinking that killing another person is the best way to go versus trying to give them a fair trial? How is it ever possible to want to kill somebody instead of at least just giving them an opportunity to do anything else?
I want to push your observation. What's the answer?
Racism is the only, poor training. We have a million reasons that we can throw to protect white people, but what's really the answer?
The challenge we're looking at right now is a systemic one. It starts from, this is historically embedded into the system that we're a part of. And until we have leaders who are going to make tough stands and not just speak out against it, but we're going to create legislation to support people of color, until we are going to create new training programs, until we are going to enforce it like we're enforcing a forgery, until we get serious about shifting the system, there's no way. And you know, listen, this is terrible for so many different communities. Besides the black community, who is feeling in this moment like they're being hunted at every chance and every moment, I could not even imagine being a mother of a black son in this time, this day and age. I would be terrified to let him out of the house. But that being said, I have friends who are cops who work in in the police force, and they're good people. They committed their life. They don't get paid big dollars to put their life on the line. And here there are a few bad apples, but again, it comes back to the system. And until we're serious about shifting the system and making real concrete change, this is going to continue to happen.
Let me ask the question right up front to continue to formulate this race in America conversation. I've asked this question before, I ask it again. Does the LGBTQ community care about color, race issues in America? Do we care?
Not enough.
Is it our fight?
Not enough.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Power, you jump in here because I didn't hear that until right then.
No, not enough. And it's horrible. It's even worse because of the fact that we are a community that is ourselves marginalized, that is ourselves discriminated against, that is ourselves facing bigotry, that is ourselves facing oppression, that is ourselves facing persecution, and yet we do not take the lessons that we learn that that are coming against us, that we are facing and struggling with, and use it to better our own community. I've spoken about this on the show before, just in terms of what you see in terms of what the gay community puts out there as a standard of beauty is usually white men, not Asian, not black, you know. It's usually idolizing white men as the standard of beauty. Any club, any event that puts a black man or a person of color as their stamp, as their model, as their poster boy is actually alternative, because that's not what we view as a standard of beauty. That is just a small sign, a small indication of what we as a gay community, as an LGBT community, it just really indicates, and it's indicative of the fact that we still struggle with racial issues.
Power,
let me just say,
Power, let me jump in just a moment to focus your observation, because I remember your social media shares about marketing imaging of white versus black in gay clubs, etc. I clearly remember that. My question to you is, why is this happening? Why are we innately, gay men are highly sexualized generally, I'm very broadly stereotyping, but there is no difference between a black man and a white man except the tint of color of the skin. Everything that we love is the same. So what is it about us in the LGBT community that is potentially also overtly racist, which is what you're suggesting here? Why is that happening, Power?
Well, I think that from the beginning of time, in every culture, every age of man, there's always been discrimination. There's always been racism. From Bible times, you had your slaves and those that owned slaves. You had your Jews versus your Gentiles. You had, people that always looked at their own race as superior to others. Your question, what is it going to take to end this? I don't know, because since this is a problem that mankind as a species has faced since its inception, I don't know if it's ever going to be erased. Can we mitigate it? Yes, perhaps. Every generation is more enlightened than the generation before. At least that's how it's supposed to be. So that is to answer your question. When you brought up Amy Cooper versus Kristen Cooper, let me just say right now that Amy Cooper and Kristen Cooper's story and George Floyd's story are related. Because Amy Cooper will lead to a George Floyd. That bitch knew exactly what she was doing when she did it. She knew exactly that if she said, I'm going to say that a black man is attacking me and threatening my life. She didn't just say a man. She said a black man, because she wanted to specify that it was a black man, because she knew that saying that would have an urgency in calling the police department, in calling
a dog whistle,
Justice
then.
Exactly.
Like
yes,
a dog
it is
whistle.
exactly a dog whistle. Then she turned around and said, well, I didn't mean to harm him, and I didn't mean to harm the African
She could have had
American
him
community.
killed.
Oh, yeah, you didn't mean, she's right, she didn't mean to harm him, she meant to kill him.
Right.
She meant to kill him, because one thing leads to another. And the fact that, when it comes to Minnesota, which is where this happened, let's take a look at it. In 2016, Philando Castile also suffered fatally in the same exact state. So like Josie said, this is a systemic, institutionalized problem, not only in this state, but in our country. And when you have like the protests that took place yesterday, and the police reaction to the protest with
gas.
rubber bullets and the tear guns and all this stuff. When you have protests, I have one guy on my social media saying, well, they shouldn't protest. Why are they protesting? First of all, if you are not black, If you do not walk in our shoes and you do not experience our struggle, please don't tell us how to protest the oppression that, I'm sorry, it's no shade, that y'all have put us through. That's ridiculous. Don't try to be more of an expert on being black than black people. Sit back and hush. And the fact I am a survivor, and I call myself a survivor of police brutality. So I don't have any love for the police. I don't have any trust for the police. Josie said it right. Yes, there are some bad apples. But to me, when you say that there's bad apples in the police department, that's like saying there's some bad apples when it comes to pilots that fly on a certain airline. Some pilots on this particular airline crash their planes. Well, I'm not going to fly on that airline. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's a few bad apples, but that's my life. I can't afford a few bad apples on an airline that I'm flying. We as the public cannot afford a few bad apples when it comes to the police. That's too many bad apples. A few is too many.
I saw this.
Saying that
go
comes
ahead,
from is that a few bad apples spoils the bunch. And that's why let us never forget that the police, as we know it today, evolved from being enforcers of slavery. You know, these issues deep within the system are not just a matter of a few racist people. These are a matter of racist practices that have been ingrained in our systems literally for the entire length of our country's existence. And if we can't get real about talking about that, we're not going to get anywhere. Listen, we all know how terrible this is. We all know, oh, this is such a shame. Enough about what a shame it is, and we've got to talk about what we can do to actually affect change.
Aaron, I'm curious I'm curious as you say that. I just want to add and focus for you. With what we're watching and the reaction and how we all react to what we watched in the Floyd incident, I immediately thought about what happens to trans women of color in the United States. We have reported story after story after story after story at Q News Tonight that is very similar to Floyd's story. We watched it on television live, or we watched the event live. Why does America not respond to trans women of color in the same way in terms of the outrage of what we're watching? Why do you think that is?
Well, I think trans women live at the intersection of society's homophobia and transphobia, as well as society's racism. So trans women of color are simultaneously under the attack of both of these separate systematic issues. It's not so much a matter of that trans women of color are listened to less than people of color. They're living in this overlap where both of these issues are affecting and oppressing them at the exact same time. So the same issues that black women face in America are going to be the same issues that black trans women face in America. But those are then amplified by the fact that they're also living under the standards of cis heteronormativity and homophobia, et cetera. And when it comes to the gay community is going to have a problem when it comes to race, as long as the white community continues to have a problem when it comes to race. And if we can't be honest with each other and talk about racism for what it really is, which is white people and non-black people of color displaying their racist upbringing, their racist conditioning, whether or not they realize that they're doing it, and projecting that onto people in ways that can take their lives, and in ways that can place them in the line of fire, if you will, if you'll pardon the expression, of a racist law enforcement system. So until we can get real about the fact that the gay racist people in our community are the white racist people in our community, and be able to talk about there are gay black people, so it's not like being gay and being black are two separate, mutually exclusive things. As long as we've got gay black people, then we've got to address the issues of gay white people and their racism.
To your point, and I'm going to jump back to Napoleon in a moment for his final point before we move on. I want to say, as I'm looking at this picture, 6 people in the LGBT community. The problem, Aaron's observation washes over, all of your observations wash over me, of course. But the problem in this picture, look closely, America, at this picture of these 6 faces. The problem that Aaron just said, which I have heard over and over again, is the problem is the person that's speaking right now. It's not the lesbian. It's not the millennial. It's not the black guy. It's not the trans woman or the trans male. It is the white guy, the privileged older white guy. And until we change that, we can't change that. And that's what, Aaron, your observation just washes over me dramatically, because I've learned this since being here and doing this. And it wasn't that I was racist, it was that I just didn't realize how we contribute to the problem. And there are millions of me that are sitting right now listening to these other 5 faces and voices coming to the exact same conclusion of what happened in Central Park and what happened in Minneapolis 2 days ago. Napoleon, you wanted to say before we move on.
That's actually very similar to what I wanted to say, was just we don't have the full side of the story between what was happening with that white Karen, because other reports of it show that the person that was looking to attack her dog were very vague and just said, you know, I want to do something to your dog that you don't like. And it could have just meant give him treats. But that vagueness ended up causing him even more of an issue. I'm not saying that he's at fault. And obviously, if there are 2 people at fault, one can be at greater fault. But there is something wrong with the fact of how we just interact with people as a society. If you're expecting to be treated with racism or prejudice, then you're likely going to respond in that way. And that's part of what we're dealing with right here. But if we can throw the rest of the time to Misty, I know that she really wanted to speak.
I have so much I want to say, and I know that we've extended our time on this segment, but America should be infuriated with these things that are happening right now in our culture. If you, by chance, did not see the Karen and the Cooper story, what happened was a bird watcher, man of color, was watching birds, and a woman had her dog not on a leash. He asked her to put the dog on a leash. She got entitled, got bitchy, got mad at him. He started to videotape her, and you could see this video online. He started to videotape her, and that's when she started to get mad. Don't videotape me. I'm going to call the police. And then she literally told the police officer, a black man is threatening me. No, he didn't threaten her. And he recorded her until she put the leash on the dog. She could have had this man killed. And what white people do not realize is when they hate out loud, unfortunately, like the president of the United States, who hates out loud and leads by example with intolerance every single day, other people, like little sheep, are just following by his example. And like Josie said earlier, racism is ingrained in this country. People have always been racist. And when I do my LGBTQ sensitivity trainings, I constantly say all the time, if you raise your hand and say, Misty, I'm colorblind in my training, I will point to you and say, you are a liar. Nobody is colorblind, first and foremost. Nobody is colorblind. Everybody's a little bit racist. And in the LGBT community, talking about something Al said earlier, why is it such a problem in our community? Our community is full of people that don't even love ourselves. We don't. Oh, I wish I wasn't gay. I wish I wasn't fat. I wish I wasn't transgender. I wish I wasn't whatever. And then we start to point fingers at each other in our very own community and say, well, at least I'm not a twink. At least I'm not a chubby fat bear. At least I'm not a lesbian. And we start to segregate in our own community. Instead of coming together as a human family and accepting each other and loving each other and our differences, we segregate. And it's super easy to point the fingers at our president. Oh, the stupid Mexicans or the black people. And that is not okay. As white people, we have a higher responsibility, because until we get on board, nobody is going to be on board.
Well, congratulations to all 5 of you. I'm very proud of the words that have come out of your mouth tonight. This I knew was going to be a difficult subject. Watching that video on George Floyd for 9 minutes saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. I'm not fighting, I'm not struggling, I'm not struggling. Sir, sir, sir. I applaud the words that came out of all of your mouths tonight, because this is a difficult subject. And for me, it washes over me very specifically, because I'm tired of talking about racism. But I have to talk about racism every single day.
It's true.
It's just like guns. It's just like trans issues. It's just like
voting.
So many things. America, we've got to do better. That is the soundbite.
I'm tired of living it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
We've got to do better. All right. We did go quite long on the subject, but you saw the value, I think, of what we just did. So we must start to lighten this up now. Let's try to talk about some other things tonight. And let's begin with our meme of the week. Now, I do not know what we're going to see here. There apparently is a leaked photo of Trump and something to do with hydroxychloroquine drug, whatever.
Hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah, that. Let's look at the meme of the week. And
oh my God, they're Flintstones. Oh my God, they're Flintstones.
He probably thinks they are the hydroxy. That's what he calls it, the hydroxy. All right, that's our meme of the week. Let's also play I'd Swallow That. Now we have shots here in front of us, and we're going to play. And there's something secret in the cup here, and so we're going to play I'd Swallow That. You know how to do it. Get a drink ready. Power, you are drinking, you have a hydroxy cocktail tonight, I understand.
It's Chablis.
Chablis? And okay, all right. So everybody knows how we're going to play. If you agree, you take your shot or your Chablis. Or if you do not agree, you don't touch your shot or your Chablis. Aaron, I can't see what's in your hand. What is that?
Oh, just a shot.
Oh, it's a shot. All right. Tequila, whiskey.
Yes.
It's a generic brand, I'm sure.
Generic brand alcohol. It's alcohol flavored alcohol.
It's store-bought.
It's just a little shot. It's just a little something.
Yeah, a little something. All right, very good. All right, let's go. Question number 1. I have attended meetings or calls, Zoom, with no pants on during COVID-19. I did one today.
Now, I've attended many without a shirt on, but I always have pants on. I don't know. That seems like decent.
Well, that's your
Well, first off, we're calling him out. That is a lie. Most of the time of your life, you do not have pants on.
I tend to have pants on and no shirt. I think everyone that follows me at home will know that pretty clearly. Maybe it's just underwear, but it's something on that's protective underneath.
The only time I see you with a shirt on, Napoleon, is when you're here. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I don't keep a shirt on.
Right. With a shirt on.
Every Facebook post, he's shirtless. Yeah, and I look at it and go, huh? Wait, he's talking about Trump.
It's clickbait.
Shirtless.
So you're all Donald Duck. All 5 of you are Donald Ducking it every time you walk around the street and on Skype, huh?
I didn't take my shot.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. I was Napoleon was sucking all the oxygen out of the room.
Kirby,
Power, you didn't take your shot because you haven't done anything with no pants.
I never do anything without pants. I'm so stupid that I actually match what I'm wearing, even though y'all can't see the bottom from the top.
You worry about your shoes.
I mean, I do. I worry about my shoes. Look, my shirt is like light blue and red, and then my shoes match as well.
And Power,
I have to tell you, nice.
Power, I'm your friend. So I would remind you to make sure that you're focusing on your shot centering, because you're going to watch this and then call me tomorrow and go, why the hell didn't you tell me? You're not centered in your screen. Anybody else not take their shot?
No, that was it.
I didn't do the show with pants last week, so I mean,
yeah,
power at all. In fact, I'm not wearing any pants right now. To be perfectly honest.
Really?
Go, Aaron.
For what? For what? Pants are oppressive. Pants are oppressive. If I have an opportunity to not have to wear pants, then
wait, that's a trans issue.
I love it.
No, that's just
masculinity
a pants
issue. What is it? All right, let's move on.
Strictly a pants issue.
All right, question number 2. I was one of the people in the pictures of the parties over the weekend, Memorial Day.
Oh, child, please.
I was that person judging the people that were taking the photos, the ones that I don't want to hang out with for 3 weeks.
Not to mention
I'm
we
just
had
making sure nobody took a shot.
we had hurricane winds on Memorial Day.
Oh, it didn't even matter. I did go driving in my car with the windows up. I did a post about it on social media through some of the bigger
But you were
areas
at the
down
gym,
here.
so what difference?
We'll talk about that in a minute. I was at a gym socially isolated with like masks and spray on and no one within 20 feet of me legitimately. But the difference is that like when I was going
That's
out
just
to the
because they didn't want to be near you.
It's true, they didn't want to be near me, but at like the drive, there was a guy that tried to spit on me, and thankfully my window was open. Like, seriously, that happened.
What?
Someone
At the
tried
gym?
to spit. No, on the drive, on Las Olas Drive, which is one of the big ritzy areas we can walk through down here. In Fort Lauderdale, there's
trying to
3
run 'em
areas
over?
to walk through mainly: the gay one,
Why did
the
they
high-end
do that,
one,
Napoleon?
and
What,
beach
what
one.
would modify, or what?
No,
would-
he was drunk. That's the thing. Everyone that was out was.
Oh, and he's thinking it's funny.
Yeah,
to do
everyone
that.
that was out was just young
Ignorance is
people that
killing.
were like partying and
That's
dancing.
an
and-
arrestable offense, in
Yeah.
my opinion. That's
especially
arrestable.
right now.
It
Well,
should
it's a
be.
good thing it didn't happen to me because y'all would have to get some bail.
Ain't that the truth?
I'm letting y'all
Ain't
know
that
right
the
now.
truth?
That's it. All right. Well, I'm glad that we didn't participate in that.
Yeah,
We've
me
got
too.
another wave coming. I did
Especially
the
here.
commentary yesterday at Q. We reported it. We showed pictures
Comment
all over.
here.
By the way, America, I just want to, in case you didn't see what we did in Q News, new studies are reporting that wearing a mask is 88% effective. 88% effective. If you're outside, if you are in a location and not having a mask on, you are making a mistake. Period. The end. End of conversation. Science
And
has proven it.
endangering other people as well.
Yes,
no less.
exactly. All right, let's move on to question number 3. Today, I'd swallow that. Today is Grape Popsicle Day. I'll drink to that. Now we have, thanks to David Hopkins, we have grape
Is the goal-
popsicles. I have not had a popsicle in 5 years, at least. Ooh. So it's grape
Why didn't David
popsicles.
Great
Hopkins?
Kool-Aid.
Why didn't David Hopkins mail us some popsicles?
Right?
I know, right? Or at least fill us in on the memo. I mean, I have
Oh
great
my
popsicles.
God.
I could have been prepared.
That is so terrible. Oh
That's
my
shady.
God.
It needs a little vodka.
Oh, it-
I was trying to deep throat the whole thing, and it just burned my mouth. I could not
that
swallow
size
What?
is a deep throat, please.
It's cold. It's cold. It's hard. The only thing
Yours-
culture I've been around is
Your
household.
standards are very small.
That's like what? 3?
What did y'all think of that grape popsicle? Did you like it?
It's cold.
It's cold. Ooh,
I want to
that
go
was-
back to
Great popsicles are
Napoleon's deep
amazing.
throat.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to go back? Of course you do.
Why? It sounds like it's something to write home about.
Yeah,
Hey.
no, it's nasty.
I write home every week about my deep throat skills. My mom watches this every week.
That wasn't no deep throat skills.
That was not no deep
was
throat
gonna
skills.
say,
I'm from
America,
Baltimore.
let me hold this up.
Why do we have grapes?
Napoleon thinks that's big.
Why do we have
Oh
grapes?
my God.
Shut up, Paige.
Power and I
Hold
are
on.
looking at each other going, child.
This is not.
Let's not let the
Remarkably
lesbian
average.
show you up, okay?
Remarkably
grape.
average.
It's
Exactly.
purple flavored. It's not grape flavored. There's a huge
But
difference.
do you know?
Purple flavored.
It's different than grape flavored. And
Okay.
we better get
All
that
right.
right next
All
time.
right. It's Great Popsicle Day. Celebrate. God, we come up with these strange days. Every single day is a strange day.
Sugar
I don't
guy.
think we made them up.
All right. Our final question, number 4. I'd swallow that. I have or would have a hall pass agreement with a significant other.
Oh no. Who's
Why do
Again,
we have to
I
question
have.
like every 3 months?
Okay, so Power's doing. Yeah, we've
Oh.
done this every 3 months. Al's doing it. Power's doing it.
Actually, it's
doing
funny.
it.
Power and I had a conversation just today. I won't reveal it, but Power and I had a
Right.
conversation just today about the possibility of hall pass.
You mean that you're on each other's hall passes?
No,
I have had a hall pass agreement with a significant other. Not the one I presently have, but I
Right.
have with a significant other. Especially one guy that I dated that he went out, cheated on me, and then ended up getting gonorrhea. And so, of course, he felt bad and felt guilty and gave me a hall pass, which I used to exit the relationship.
Deuces.
Joyce.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I would not have a hall pass. I think all relationships that are predicant on this is what we are allowed to do or else we're failing is just doom coming forward. I'm a big person into a variety, and while I could see my partner saying, okay, here's 5 that work, what if I meet a 6th person that I'm really interested in and they could drive with our group? I'm polyamorous. I want to be honest. Was that Josie?
We just went
We're
there.
remarking of the quantity that was involved in that soup recipe.
Yeah.
A big soup, then fine.
As if 5 is not enough. But
Yeah.
I don't have too much room to talk, Napoleon. I remember back in the day, a young
Here we
Josie.
go. We're going to New York City.
New York City. But yeah, listen, I'm not anyone's property, and my partner is not my property. Every day it's a choice. The fact that we have a hall pass is simply is the choice to be with each other and to accept each other and all of our, those are the stipulations of our relationship. It's just a respect. It's called communication and hall pass. It's communication.
Yeah,
That's
but I
what
do
it is.
encourage everyone to try
Right.
being someone
Yeah,
else's
you don't-
property at some point because it's an interesting endeavor when you're someone else's property.
Aaron, you were saying?
I'm not even sure now.
You've been Napoleon distracted.
Man, you don't need a hall. You don't need a hall pass, like Josie said, if you're communicating. It's just
True.
a matter of, listen, different people have different parameters for what they're comfortable with in a relationship. If you're comfortable with, extramarital and extracurricular activities, then you do that and you navigate and negotiate what works for you, what makes you comfortable and what doesn't. You talk about the jealousy issues and you work through it like 2 adults who are in a partnership together. That's the point.
Hello.
My husband and I do not have a hall pass situation. I believe that when you open your relationship is when the relationship's on the way out. But if Roman Reigns was in the neighborhood and he was interested, I might renegotiate this conversation.
Child, I could do 5 names that I happen to know that you would add to that list. Oh, wait, I forgot. Wait, one more. Wait.
I would say it has to be a celebrity, though, for me to even consider bringing it up to my husband, like, baby.
See, but those are your boundaries. That's what you're willing to be flexible on. Somebody else is willing to be flexible for a different reason, for a porn star. Somebody else is willing to be flexible for, a fetish that they're into that their partner's not into.
Yeah.
It's all about
That
just
is true, yeah.
Listen,
Right.
stay
Or
out
just
of
the guy
people's
down the road.
bedrooms unless you're trying to participate in the bedroom. I feel like that we should know this already as a community.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move out of I'd Swallow That into a few topics that we want to talk about that relate to celebrity. This week, Diana Ross admits that she didn't realize that I'm Coming Out was a gay thing. Unbelievable. We've prepared this. Watch this.
In New York, during that era, all of the best clubs in New York were the underground clubs, and the most underground clubs were the gay clubs, and the most underground of the gay clubs were the transvestite clubs. And you would go there, I'm serious, to hear the best music because it was like heavy, hardcore partying and all of the greatest stuff in the world. Anyway, I went to the bathroom, and I was standing there in the bathroom, and as I was urinating, I looked next to me, and there were 5 guys in drag, and they all looked like Diana Ross. And talk about an artistic light bulb. Like all of a sudden, beep, 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 beep. I said, what if Diana Ross were gay? And all of a sudden, she just said to the world, I'm coming out. And I went home and I wrote,
Well, I love that story, first off. And in the story conversation, Diana Ross did not realize that I'm Coming Out had the basis of the writer
Context.
of the song in terms of the context of the song. What did y'all think about this in terms of Diana Ross's fanaticism of fans in the LGBT community, our loyalty to that song in terms of what coming out of the closet means, and why he wrote the song, and then you
Well,
find
what
out.
strikes-
Yeah, go ahead, Power.
What strikes me about that story is, once again, the LGBT community has inspired fabulousness.
Hello.
Once again, just like, Madonna's Vogue, everybody thought, oh, girl, she done created something. No, bitch, that was us again.
Yeah.
So I just love the fact that, once again, we have inspired something that's iconic. And we gave to her, and in return, she gave to us. So it was a win-win.
And the same with Madonna. She
Win-win.
very
I love
much
it.
gave back.
Yeah. Does anybody remember, I believe in 1988, the Diana Ross concert in Central Park? Mm-hmm. And it got rained out, and she came out and opened with that song in front of 500,000 people at Central Park.
Wow.
It was one of the greatest moments ever.
So she succeeded really well. Not all of us were alive there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to paint.
It's online.
Paint a better picture
Yeah,
is all I'm
it's called
saying.
YouTube.
You know, it's interesting though, Al, too. It's like we're talking about racism, right? And we're talking about this black woman who was singing in a time when racism was still rampant. Right? And
Homophobia was raging.
homophobia also. And so it's just AIDS, and for her to not necessarily know the meaning of I'm coming out, it's endearing, because she was probably thinking about it as an artist, as a black woman. I'm coming out, and she was letting the whole world see. I'm sure now she knows but this is how our struggles are all interwoven and interconnected.
But wait, AIDS wasn't around in 1980. I thought it was 84 where it started.
88.
88. So
It was
In 84, it was raging.
Yeah,
A
I thought it was
peak.
84 that it's.
Oh, 84 to 94 was the worst 10 years of
So in 1980,
AIDS. 1980 it launched, in terms of infection.
Yeah,
It was our
there's
January.
something really.
It was our COVID January and February, where we had an idiotic president back then, too. His name was Ronald Reagan. Similar kind of situation. I want to move out of this topic of Diana Ross and move into another kind of related celebrity topic. But America, I invite you to look closely at the screen right now at the 5 faces around me. I'm getting ready to talk about a topic that basically their eyes are all going to glaze over. It's called sports. Oh, wait. There's one exception, and it's the professional woman's football star and top chef. But let's do a sports story, something that we don't often do. It's happening out. This week we learned that gay college track star Trey Robinson has decided to be a role model in the LGBTQ community, specifically because of sports, and he thought more attention should be paid to it. Before we talk about this, we've prepared a package on it. Watch this.
Oh my God. Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Trey D'Angelo, and welcome back to your boy's channel. I have a special guest today, and he is...
My name's Corey.
You are my...
Trey's boyfriend.
Okay.
Basically, we're doing a cool little video today in quarantine to make things fun, because at this
quarantine
point,
has been such a drag, like a lot. It's been giving me too much, and I'm tired of it.
Probably driving him
Basically,
insane.
It's literally driving us insane. Today we're doing a video, and we're basically just going to be answering some of the questions that you guys honestly most want to know about us, and just gauge our relationship with each other. So
the first question that we are going to ask out loud is how did we meet, and what was our first impressions of each other?
Okay, you go first.
Okay, so we met on Tinder. Honestly, was so unexpected.
Well, first off, lovely. That is so cute. I'm thinking about when I was in college. Now, YouTube didn't exist. This channel that he has launched for especially the young LGBTQ community, it didn't exist. However, if it did, I cannot possibly imagine that happening. Impossible. And when I was in college, that moment would have been totally impossible. That's how we've changed. And he is establishing a challenge to say, wait, I'm not satisfied with what's going on right now. I want to bring my sports world into your world, LGBTQ community. What do y'all think about what Trey Robinson is launched and what he's doing?
I mean, I think there's a lot of...
I told you everybody's we're going to glass over.
I just don't like being first all the time.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of folks that he's following in their footsteps. There's a lot of gay sports icons who have paved the way to give him the opportunity to step in the role. You know, these gay icons cannot continue to carry the torch. We have to have the young athletes, LGBTQ plus athletes, who continue to take the baton, you know, to use a sports term, and continue the race. It's just a transfer, a pass to the next generation.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us want to be that role model for other people because especially in a found family type of community, which the LGBTQ community is all of found family, even if we have family that supports us by blood. We have to look out for ourselves in finding our own role models, and we have to look out for ourselves in being the role model for other people. And that is just as important because so frequently we know how lost we felt at different points of our lives, but we're not concentrating on how we can grow now and how we can give back to other people through what we've learned and how we're continuing to grow.
You know, to that observation, please indulge me. Let's do a little flash poll. It's not a yes or no. This is a different, just a name, only a name. Tell me in sports for LGBT, who would be a role model for you? Somebody tell me who their role model would be.
Billie Jean King.
Billie Jean, that's a good choice.
I don't know any names in sports. People.
Okay. Sports is a game. Misty, by the way, last night we did a story, America. This is actually a sad but funny story in COVID. The city of Pensacola has taken their AA baseball stadium in Pensacola, Florida. And of course, they're not doing anything with it, so they've put it in Airbnb for $1,500 a night. You can rent the entire stadium as an Airbnb for $1,500. And Misty, while we're discussing the story with Napoleon and I last night, said, AA, this stadium, this is baseball, right? That's a baseball. So anyway, you just...
But I still said I would love to sleep in that 10-person bedroom, or the 10-bed bedroom. That would be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, one of our stories tonight is Dwayne Wade, who has obviously been a long purporter of...
Yes.
That would be a role model for you?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Aaron, Power, do you have any sports role models?
I would say Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson. And how come? I'm curious.
Well, I mean, Magic Johnson, you know, he was one of the first celebrities to come out publicly.
Yeah, he didn't hide.
With AIDS. And he has been a trailblazer for our community and for people living with HIV for decades. So
to piggyback on what Power just said, I am sitting right now, Power, looking. Of course, we can't wait to welcome you and Aaron back here to Fort Lauderdale and coming down live to the show. But we're sitting in the middle of the World AIDS Museum, and from my seat, I'm looking at Magic Johnson's number 32 jersey, signed by him, and absolutely an icon, not only to the AIDS movement, but to the LGBT community in terms of gratitude toward him. Aaron, do you have any role models in sports?
I mean, I really don't. I just don't really follow sports a whole lot. But that being said, you know, I mean, Fallon Fox comes to mind, the MMA fighter who is who's trans.
I had thought.
And there's.
You like mixed martial arts?
I mean, I don't really follow any sports that closely to be able to like reasonably say that I like it.
Oh,
but,
okay, all right.
You know, it just comes down to a thing of visibility, regardless of whether I'm into sports or regardless of whether I'm into whatever a particular LGBTQ person is doing. What I'm into that they're doing is promoting visibility. And if you are in a position, especially, again, as a gay person of color, as a gay black person, if you are able and have the privilege to have a platform and be safe to come out and proud and loud, then please, by all means, do so. That's how we continue to have progress.
Yeah. You know, I wrote down on a card, I'll hold it up. You won't be able to see it, but I wrote it down on a card. Greg Louganis.
Yeah.
Everybody remember Greg Louganis?
Of course.
Greg Louganis just celebrated his 60th birthday.
No way.
Yeah, I know. It washed over me.
Do you remember Greg Louganis?
Is that like Lou Gehrig's?
Oh my God.
Power is such a bitch. Power Infiniti is just a bitch. All right, anyway, gay sports, and we wanted to talk about it. It moves us on to best thing of the week. Again, this is something that I and none of the hosts have seen. Have you heard about the interesting to-do and dust-up that's been going on this week with Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande? Well, there is something out called It's Raining on Gaga and Ari. So let's watch the best thing of the week.
It was beautiful just yesterday, but oh, wow, how things have changed. Today, it is pouring rain. We are soaking wet. And while some are complaining of the recent downpour, we would like to celebrate the rain. Live from Beverly Hills is Ariana Grande with more to report.
Thanks, Gaga. Rain on me, tsunami. Water like misery, but the people are still going.
So true, Ariana. The world is rising up in a massive act of kindness to celebrate the rain the world so desperately needs to quench the thirst of the earth. Are we thirsty or what?
Oh, we are thirsty indeed. And what the locals are now saying globally is, rain on me.
Yes, bring on the rain. We are more ready than ever to work together.
It'll be raining all summer, but we'll surely be dancing as it does.
We're soaking wet, but hopeful and broadly positive.
Back to you,
Back to you in the studio. I think it was good.
Oh, I
That
think
was
that's
great.
adorable.
Hey, did anybody think that the hose that was putting the water out on Gaga kind of looked like sewage water? I mean, it looked very yellowish.
Were they in Florida?
Yeah, I'm not sure where they were.
Or just Flint.
They wouldn't
so
need
what
a
did y'all
hose if
think?
they're in
Best
Florida.
thing of the week? You're happy with it?
I think it's adorable. I'm all for self-promotion, and I'm glad they exposed the fact that they were being falsely rained on or self-raining. They had their own shower situation. I think it was cute.
Yeah, the exposure of the third wall seems like a Gaga move. I can't believe that she thinks that Ariana Grande is a bigger star than she is, because Gaga is the biggest star of all time right now, as far as I'm concerned. She's always
Barbara Streisand?
Of the current time? Yeah.
Who's Barbara? I'm just kidding.
It's just hilarious.
Streisand?
It's hilarious because the quarantine is bringing out the silly in everyone, and people are just going out of their mind and being creative, and being silly, and no one cares, and I love it. So
We're either bored or we are revulsing to the television porn that we're watching.
The horror porn.
The horror porn that we're watching.
And the regular porn.
Yeah, well.
The regular, you know.
Yeah,
Are you revolting against that?
We never get that. Right. All right. Best thing of the week. Let's move on to what's on your mind. I touch base. I don't know why, but I keep my finger on the pulses of these 5 people that you're seeing in the screen. And we do this segment called What's on Your Mind. Frequently, I'm very disappointed with what's on LGBTQ community's mind. And hopefully that won't be tonight. But we're going to find out what's on their mind. So we're going to give them about 30 seconds to summarize what's on their mind this week. And let's give the advantage to those that are coming to us remotely from thousands of miles away, coming from wherever it is that they are isolated. Power, let's start with you. What's on your mind this week?
Well, what's on my mind, especially with everything that's going on with racial issues in our country, all lives matter versus Black Lives Matter. I think that, when we say all lives matter, we are minimizing the importance of Black lives. And, I think, yes, all lives do matter, but we aren't talking all lives. We're talking about Black lives, which are significantly, more impacted and are at risk than white lives. If it's like saying if a house is burning and the one next to it isn't, we focus on the one that's burning. We don't say all houses matter and worry about the other houses. We worry about the house that's on fire. So we need to really say Black Lives Matter, and it's important to specify Black lives, because if Black lives don't matter, all lives don't matter either.
Let's support Power in that observation. Let's all say it. Black lives
matter.
They do.
Black Lives Matter.
Aaron, what's on your mind this week?
What's on my mind ties into, I've been thinking a lot about the irony of the word safety, and how we've all been told to, that the safest place for us to be is at home. And for a lot of us, for a lot of queer people, for a lot of LGBT people, trans people, and those who struggle specifically with mental illness, home is not necessarily always the safest space. And it's been, I came into, I'm going to just throw my note card out here because that's useless. I came into the show last week very much like with my mask on, my proverbial mask on, and making jokes and acting like everything was fine. And everything was not fine. And everything is getting a little better. I'm coming through the other side of that not fine feeling. But it's been really tough. It's been really tough. And being at home in my own head has not always been the safest space. And I know there's a lot of people out there who feel the same way. So I don't know, other than to say that you're not alone. I don't know what the solution is, but I know that we've got to keep hanging on. That's it.
Aaron, are you hanging on?
By a thread?
I'm doing the best. I'm doing the best I can.
Wait. I'm sorry, you were going to say what?
I'm doing the best I can. You know, I'm taking it one day at a time.
You're okay?
I can't say that.
Okay. We hear you loud and clear. Misty, what's on your mind?
Sure, yeah. For those that don't know me, I have done a YouTube channel from about 2007, actively almost every single day until about 2017. And then I started to let self-doubt roll into my life. And why do I even try and why am I bothering? And it's called imposter syndrome. And this last week, I've decided to start posting on YouTube again. That's something that I'm a little personal project. I'm going to make the time to get out there and make YouTube videos again.
Awesome commitment. I love to hear that. Josie, what's on your mind?
Well, on my mind, you know, like everyone in this moment, readjusting to life and readjusting to whatever the new normal is, and choosing to take each day one day at a time. I feel like I've enrolled myself into some program that I was unaware of. But, you know, just like reopening my business, I mean, that's been on my mind. It's been on my mind for the entire week. You know, it's just real struggle. And when you mention those 40% of LGBTQ businesses which will go out of business, you know, that's what weighs heavily on my mind, whether or not Bubbles and Pearls will survive this moment. And you know, that's heavy. It's really heavy, and it is real, and it is challenging. And my heart goes not only out to myself and being gentle in this moment, but my heart goes out to all of the folks that are facing this really tough decision. But at least I rest knowing that whatever happens is going to be perfect. It's perfectly meant for this moment. And if we close and we recreate, because we are the LGBTQ community and we are creative beings and we're resilient, and that's what we do.
America, I want to make sure that I provide a highlighter to what you're listening to that I think is very important. Everyone that you're looking at right now is expressing fear in different ways. Power is an internet performer, is a DJ and performance artist. He's not an internet
not a
performer.
cam girl.
Right? And is going to go back into clubs and events and festivals and circuit parties. And how are they going to happen and unfold next? It's on his mind, I'm quite sure. Napoleon is crafting an image for himself in terms of how he presents himself going forward. Aaron is in the constant perpetual issue of work simply because of being trans. Because trans and being hired in various different ways in trans is one of the most difficult things to do in America, much less the LGBT community. You're hearing a reality star from Top Chef saying, I'm concerned what will happen to my restaurant. And Misty works for a provider that is going to face, as a 501c, dramatic changes that will go on there. And while is safe, constantly challenges in fear, what will happen to me? That's what Josie just talked about. That's what I've heard so far. The only reason I provide a highlighter to say that before we finish with Napoleon on what's on your mind, America, LGBT community, we're all in this together. Everyone is experiencing the exact same thing, regardless of the inclination of how you're experiencing it. That should be the starting point of feeling a little better. We're all in the same boat together, which is why we will survive this, because we're all in the same boat. I didn't mean to take away from you. Napoleon, what's on your mind this week?
What's been on my mind this week is the progress from last week. Last week I shared that I had just started an antidepressant, and Aaron actually reached out to me, and that was one of the things I wanted to say back to him, because he was very kind in terms of the words that he said and just making me feel supported, and then I hope that I can do the same for him as we move forward. That's part of what Al was just describing. I feel like what has been going on with them now a week and a half in, I am starting to get more motivated. Part of it is things opening up and getting to be able to be to the gym and be myself a little bit more, focusing on the things that make me happy. But a lot of that is the brand, just like you, Misty, and really focusing on what's happening next with NapoleonPlays as a brand, all of the things that are coming in, and then with Hout as well. So it's frustrating because there are so many things that could be leading to sadness, but instead you have to fight that with discipline every day to move forward into what you want to do and what you want to accomplish to live in the world you want to live in. And right now it's really hard.
I want to finish this segment by me specifically saying what's on my mind. What's on my mind is all of you. And I just want to point this out. Ron Brunensky, again, taught me something very important that I did not learn the first time until Eddie Sotomayor and Pulse. Never allow the opportunities to pass you, ever. The only thing that's important is relationship. Aaron just expressed something in this conversation that brings me to a complete stop. Aaron, I want to make sure you know, I hear it loud and clear. And I want to make sure that I take the opportunity to say to you specifically in hearing that loud and clear, I don't know when I'll have the opportunity again. So I'm taking it right now. And to every single one of you, I want to say that I take the exact same opportunity. I'm hearing all of you loud and clear. This is really a terrible, tough time. Whether we make jokes about it, whether we rage against racism, whether we rage against Trump in the White House, whatever it is we do, the bottom line is this is a really tough time. And the only thing I know for sure is if we talk about it, it will get better. If we come together, it will get better. And if we acknowledge and stand up for each other, it will get better. And I want to make sure in the loss of our host, Ron Brunensky, I never make that mistake ever again for the rest of my life. And that's what's on my mind. We want to move into Saved by the Bell. It's a lightning round of LGBT topics in the news this week and other headlines. Short 60 to 90 seconds on each topic. And please, God, I constantly say this, when we get to that time period, we're hoping that Power is in mid-syllable so I can cut him off. It's one of my favorite things of the entire week to do.
And people in hell want ice water, but that's not happening.
All right, so we'll see. So we will see. All right, so let's play Saved by the Bell. Story topic number 1. After Trump gets fact-checked by Twitter, he threatens to withdraw Twitter. And we're not talking about his own account. We mean eliminating Twitter. What do y'all think?
I'm sure we'd be in a better world if there were no Twitter, especially if there were no Donald Trump on Twitter. That's how all decrees come from the president now, so why not just get rid of his only means of communication?
He is a huge toddler. Huge toddler.
Hugely.
And I don't even think that he, like, oh, somebody said my tweet was wrong. Screw Twitter, take it all away. Tomorrow he's going to cry because he doesn't tweet 300 tweets a day. Like, come on, acting impulsively.
I mean, egg off Twitler. Then Twitter needs him. So
that part.
You know, he's really just cutting off his own nose to spite his face.
Don't you think it's interesting that he threatens to basically end Twitter's life and Twitter allows the tweet?
Listen, the delusion is starting a progressive and aggressive attack on his mind. If we were in question of it before, this is a sure sign. Because, come on, give me a break.
I can't wait when we come out of this and Donald Trump has lost November 3rd. I cannot wait to ask my conservative friends, okay, how long did you really know how crazy he was? Because I suspect they're going to say, you know, Al, we knew a long,
How do they
long
not?
time.
The whole time.
We pay attention.
And Aaron, anything on Trump and tweeting? And Twitter?
Listen, look, as funny as it is on the surface, this is dangerous shit. This is dangerous shit for him to normalize and for him to even suggest. Our social media in this day and age, if you will, is our primary form of communication, our primary form of organization. This is how people stay informed. This is how people stay connected. Human connection is a human right. And the fact that he would threaten to take away a platform in which people stay connected, especially in a time of crisis, is serious shit. As much as hilarious as it is for him to even make the suggestion, it's too easy, especially under a national emergency, for him to actually enact shit like this.
Yeah.
Sorry,
The bell was
Aaron, you've been chopped. Aaron, you've been chopped.
Did you hear the bell or
And
not?
Aaron's screen goes black for the
I was going to say, I have the nuclear button here too.
Disorder.
Right, exactly. All right, let's move on. By the way, the president doesn't have the power to do anything about Twitter. By the way,
he really thinks this is
But under
China.
national emergency, he has a lot of powers that are close that could scare the shit out of you. Look
Okay.
it up.
Yeah, true. All right. Saved by the Bell. Story number 2. Pixar announced this week that out of the closet it goes. Now, I didn't know Disney or Pixar was in the closet, but apparently they were. They've released a short on Disney Plus featuring the studio's first gay main character. Big news?
Yes.
Super, super adorable. I watched it today. It's only 10 minutes long, and it's a great kind of a Freaky Friday story where a man becomes his dog and sees a world in a new perspective because he's scared to death. And I say man, he's probably college age, but he's scared to death to come out to his parents. And it is very touching.
Oh my God, it's not just touching. If you're a gay person, you have to cry when you see this. I've watched it like 4 times in right now, and it's only 9 minutes, so it's not even 40 minutes, it's just like 36. It's a really, really great piece. And even if they don't say the word gay in it at any point, you get to see the mother. They say you get to see the mother come out to being comfortable with the son because the son is, like Misty said, kind of mind warped and in pup play. And they have so many gay elements: the pup play, the rainbows, the techno music, the dogs, the cats, the interracial love. It's so beautiful in a 2020 world to see Pixar do this.
I have a question though, and this is the real important question. Did you like it?
Yes.
You know what's funny is my husband did not want to watch it. I'm like, babe, please, I need to watch this for tonight. He's like, no. And I'm like, it's only 10 minutes, please. And he laughed and he enjoyed it. He probably won't tell you it, but I was there.
I want to share it with everyone.
I'm curious because I want to go to the #1 Pixar fan on the planet. Power, did you enjoy it? That's
Okay,
enough.
well.
That evil laugh is enough. Thank you.
Levison said
Saved
no.
by the Bell. Wait. Just to make it official. Saved by the Bell, story number 3. This week, France has their first duly elected transgender mayor.
Yay.
What do you think?
That's fantastic.
I think our caption is.
I just thought we had.
So I got a little bit confused for a second there.
I think the reaction was we all celebrated it.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean-
woo, you know? Where's the bottles?
First off, when I've forgotten, is it a man or a woman?
I think she's a trans woman, right?
I think
Or
trans
a
woman.
woman,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. It was a trans woman. Was that a read? I think that was a read. She said, which I thought was interesting. What is so unique about this is that it's not unique. It was
shouldn't be
very
special.
that it's not special. And I thought that the observation was really terrific. The headlines of this in France were big. We're in the United States, obviously, but it was big. And her reaction was, "What's the big deal?" And
Right. I mean, great, she's transgender, but what are her politics? What policies is she going to be pushing? You know, is she racist? I have further questions before I can celebrate. Besides just okay.
Aaron, I welcome back to no matter how good the story is. Bam.
But she did say she
Stay
didn't
woke,
think
my friend.
she did say she was one on her merits and what she stands for, not because she's trans.
It's the hope anyone wants to achieve, not to win from.
Which
what-
sounds
I'm jealous.
suspiciously Republican to me. I'm just saying.
Why are you
Just
jealous,
throwing that
Power?
out there.
It sounds a little like
I'm
Pete
jealous
Buttigieg.
because, I mean, France always has, you know, Europe always is a lot more progressive than we are. You know,
Yeah.
they have women prime ministers. They have France certainly has a hot leader. You know, now they have a trans mayor. I mean, and what do we have? Humpty Dumpty.
You know, it's funny to your
Adolf
point.
Hitler.
We have observed this on Q News Tonight. We've been broadcasting now for 5 months. We have done so many stories generated out of Europe, but especially the United Kingdom, being principally English speaking. And so many, whether you're conservative or liberal, whether you're the Republican version or the Democratic version in the United Kingdom, they all, in terms of social policies, generally are very, very progressive. It's very, that we all talk about how jealous we are that this can happen in the United Kingdom and Europe, but it can't happen in America.
Well, not with Boris.
Well, but in general, lots
Outside of the leader.
Again, Aaron, you derailed the.
He's the main leader.
Right. All right. Let's move out of Saved by the Bell and let's move to our game Shag, Marry, Chop. Now, America, you know how we play this. We're going to put up some very interesting people. This week we're going to return to trees. And
oh my God, yay!
No, we're not. Shag, Marry, Chop, we're going to ask each of the hosts who they would shag, who they would marry, who they would chop, and why. And tonight we are going to play a game that is totally, historically accurate. Here are our choices. First, from the 300, King Leonidas. From the Tudors, King Henry VIII. And from Young Guns, Billy the Kid. All right, guys and girls, who would you shag, marry, chop? Aaron, let me give you the first opportunity sitting in digital exile. Who would you shag?
Oh, I'm definitely shagging King Leonidas, that's for sure. And then
You saw the movie.
I'm going to marry...
Did you see the
Yeah,
movie?
of course I saw the movie.
Yeah. Oh my.
I don't watch porn. I just watch movies like that.
Yeah.
Same thing to you.
So I'm gonna have to marry King Leonidas because that's just an obvious answer, and I'm gonna have to chop the other two colonizer-looking motherfuckers because I don't.
Wait, you're gonna shag
and marry?
wait, that's not playing the game. I know this is week 1 for you, but try to do a little better. So you're shagging King Leonidas.
And I know this is week 1 for you. I know this is week 1 for you, but when you tell me to pick one or the other, I almost never actually do. So sorry.
You're so damn ornery. All right, that answer's good enough to let it pass. We'll move on. Power, you're also in digital exile. Who would you shag and marry and chop?
Okay, well, this is going to be easy for me. I am going to shag King Henry because I absolutely loved him. I loved his tyrannical nature. But you don't want to marry him because you'll end up like Anne.
That's a great joke,
And I
by
like
the
my
way.
head,
You'd be the
I
knight.
like my head right on top of my shoulders.
Right.
I'm definitely going to marry King Leonidas because he was, I mean, everything. Every motherfucking thing. And Billy the Kid gets the chop from beginning to end, from all the way to the back of the runway. He gets a chop.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, heavy. All right, who wants to jump in here?
Yeah, I'll go because
All right,
it seems like we're right on track here. I think I'm going to go ahead and shag King Henry too. Sounds fun. It looks like we'd have fun, you know. Wrestle a little, you know.
I always love when you're like talking about men and you're like, sure, you know, like
We'll wrestle.
penis things.
Yeah, whatever.
You know, gay men don't wrestle.
That's
No
not
way.
true.
That's not true.
Well, anyways, they wrestle with me. Okay, so
Josie. Ooh.
then I'm definitely marrying King Leonidas because hello. That's one piece of ham.
You know,
right there.
disappointing about Leonidas is he never looked the same again. You know,
Really?
London is falling, the White House is falling, etc. And he's done many great things. He's a great actor.
Yeah.
But he never looked the same again.
Well, we'll just hold him in that sexy
Yes,
space,
exactly,
okay?
right.
So
He's
that
never had to be
version,
shirtless
that
again.
version.
Right.
And then Billy the Kid. I mean, come on. I'm with Power on that one. That one got chopped before even the 3 got put on the screen. Okay.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Could have told you that with my eyes
Misty,
closed.
who are you going to shag, marry, chop?
I'm Twinning it with Power and Josie. Like, I'm shagging King Henry, marrying King Leonidas, and bye Billy.
Wow. Yeah.
All right, so I'll change it up a little bit. I'm gonna shag Leonidas because I think he's a dick, but I think that that's good one time. Being with a dick one time is
Just
good.
once, when you were
Napoleon,
5.
he would hurt you.
He would try to hurt me.
He would break you.
Well, that
He would
makes it
break
even
you in
better. If
half.
he can leave if he can leave like a mark on my chest or like.
Oh, that's not where he's going to leave the mark.
Wow.
I feel threatened somehow. I was here tonight. If anyone needs to know where I was at on whatever day and time it is, NapoleonPlays was here. I would marry Henry. All that you're saying about, beheading, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Who cares about that? Because that means he has a whole dungeon to play in.
Napoleon's one of those girls. It won't be me. It won't be me.
Oh, it won't be me.
And then all of a sudden you never see Napoleon again.
Hey, you would see Napoleon all the time. My head would at least be on the top of the castle, if nothing else. And then Billy the Kid, I think everyone was unanimously no for that.
Bye, Billy.
I don't want someone that's jumping out of a
Not a
jackbox.
fan of westerns.
In fact, I didn't know that we were playing this in Shag, Marry, and Chop. I've seen 300 again this weekend, Memorial Weekend, and it's about the 25th time that I have seen it, so you know the categories that he falls into. We are at the end of the show, which means we get to have some pizza. And of course, one of our big sponsors is Jet's Pizza, and we are going to be, oh my goodness, is it heavy? Jet's Detroit style pizza.
New pepperoni.
And it's, if you come into South Florida, it's definitely the pizza that you should be getting. You'll love it. And before we end and leave tonight, we're going to have good night from our host. And again, our digital participants tonight. Power, you want to say good night?
Good night.
Not children.
Keep it cute.
Not motherfuckers.
No, good night, good night, children. Remember that, our diversity is our strength and our unity is our power. So let's come together and keep it right here, and it's happening out.
Yeah. And Aaron Phoenix?
Well, good night, gender fuckers, and everybody who's trying to figure all of us gender fuckers out. I always appreciate the conversation. Keep it ongoing. Keep it real. Keep it honest. See you next week.
All right. And Napoleon?
Good night, gamers. Good night, players. Good night, people that want to make this world more fun. Remember to play every day, every way, especially right now where the world is hurting a little bit. And if you play Smash Bros, make sure to add me on your friend code because I have been playing too much of that. So find that, NapoleonPlays, and I'll see you guys soon and next week on It's Happening Out.
I'm sorry, did he just start speaking Russian? Because that's what I heard.
Just contemporary youth.
And, and he gets an age where he did. All right, accepted. And my friend Misty Eyez.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Thank you for watching America. We love you. And as I say on my YouTube channel, loving you, CC.
And my friend Chef Josie.
Good night to all you gentle human beings. Remember that, okay? When this show ends, remember that the only way out is through, but the only way through is together. Stay healthy, stay safe, and stay positive. See you next week.
You know, America, I kind of look at and think of Happening Out Television Network. It's Happening Out, Q News, Happening.Fun. It's kind of like a lighthouse. We're kind of a beacon trying to illuminate the dark harbor that we're watching going on in our world, the world at large, but also the LGBT America. I would be remiss if I didn't close the show tonight by saying we've worked very hard and we should recognize the milestone that we had today. We crossed 100,000 lives and souls lost in America. The largest number of Americans ever in history in a 90-day period has happened. Even less than 90 days, really. But in our entire republic, the greatest ever in our history. Very significant, more than 7,000 from our LGBT community are gone because of COVID-19. We can blame, we can explain, we can bitch, we can moan, The only thing that is important now is that we stay safe and that we come out of this safely and try to find our feet again. One of the ways that you can do that is with It's Happening Out and Q News Tonight, because we're that lighthouse trying to illuminate the misty fog all around us. So we remind you, if it's important to you, it's happening out. So good night, America, and we'll see you next week at 8 o'clock Wednesday night.